My name is Specialist John W. Hoffman, United States Army. Today's the 27th of January, 2003, and on September 11th, I was in the New Wedge on the second floor in the Pentagon, room 2E425, and that morning I came into work for my second day at work on September 11th. I took the metro in and was prepared for a long day, but a good day of my first day at work at the Pentagon. About 8:30, almost 9 o'clock, I decided to go have a cup of coffee and a smoke break, and decided to wait for my coworkers that I was with. There were two government civilians that were working with me, and we were in a conference room that had no radio or nothing, so we was just working diligently that day. And before I went to go and smoke, they said, hold on and just wait for us, we'll go get something to drink together and take a break. So that was fine, and we didn't hear anything about New York. We didn't know nothing of what happened to the World Trade Center until we finally got out. But what had happened was there was a loud explosion, and the shock from that threw us to the ground, and the lights dropped. So there was no lighting at all, and the ceiling started falling in on us, and we were in the New Wedge. We were just moving back into the Pentagon from Crystal City, and we couldn't see nothing, and all the smoke. We had thought there was a transformer that blew into the ceiling somewhere on an upper floor, because a few weeks prior there was a transformer that blew and there was smoke billowing everywhere. But we figured that's what it was, and so we gathered what we could to get out of there. I knew something was wrong because it was such a large explosion that we grabbed our personal effects just quickly. Within like 10-15 seconds, we grabbed our stuff and we tried to get out through the main entrance into the E-ring, and we couldn't get out into the E-ring from all the smoke and all the debris that was laying on the ground from the ceilings, and we backtracked back into the conference room and out into the new cubicle space, the new office space that was just being set up for us to move into. And we got lost 3 or 4 times in there trying to get a good exit to get out of, because everything was blocked off. And again, the smoke was just horrendous. And we finally got out into one of the unfinished corridors, and we heard voices, hollering for people to see if they were okay. So we finally we started hollering back, and found our way to an opening to where we saw some other people getting out, and we finally got out of the Pentagon through the loading docks, and we had to jump down off the loading docks and followed a group of people that were already escaping from the Pentagon, followed them around to South Parking to where the smoke was coming out of the building at. And we was wondering what in the world just happened, because it was just mass hysteria. Everyone was running around, throwing rumors about an airplane or a bomb or something happened. We really wasn't sure, and we ran upon a couple of friends, and they was like, "Yeah, we think this is part of what happened up in New York." Well, what happened? And we wasn't sure, so they told us, and we were just shocked that planes had hit 2 of the most prominent buildings in the United States. And at that time, I think they only told us that one of them had been hit, and it was shortly thereafter we heard that another one had been hit. And I had my duffel bag with me with my gym clothes in it, and I tried to get over to where the aid was being given to other people that were being pulled out of the Pentagon, and I tried to get over to give a hand in the rescue of getting people out, and they wouldn't let nobody cross the line. Apparently they already had enough, or they just didn't want no one else to be in the way, I guess. So they herded us across 395 over into the Pentagon City Mall area, where we were just standing and waiting around to hear what's happening or to see what's going to happen next. We wasn't sure. I was trying to call everybody that I knew. I was trying to call my supervisors to try to get them a message or try to get some guidance. And I finally got a phone call from my supervisor, and then I talked to my lieutenant colonel, and he told me that the safest place for me to be was to go home, so I did so. I stuck my thumb out because mass transit, the trains were, the metro was locked down, it wasn't running, the buses wasn't running, traffic was backed up for miles, and so I just stuck my thumb out and got a ride with some young woman, and then we picked up 2 other military NCOs, 2 more Army NCOs, and we spent the next 3 hours in traffic trying to get back towards Alexandria to the Huntington Metro, and it was just a nightmarish day. And the aftermath, I guess afterwards, I was still pretty much in shock of where I was at that day and why it happened. And I got home and watched all the footage of the planes hitting the towers, and it's just carnage the way it all unfolded. And to know that I was there, it was just unimaginable that that's what happened and I was there, and now I have to keep on living through it. And it was only about 6 or 7 months afterwards that after the attack that I was remembering more, I guess you could say, in remembering more of the things that I heard as I was trying to exit the Pentagon, as I was trying to get out with my 2 friends. And I just remember hearing just voices screaming and things you don't really want to hear or things you really don't want to remember later on. And I was having problems, with sleeping and the nightmares and everything. I'm sure just like everyone else had problems with it. There was a survey put out to find out if you were in the Pentagon and where you were at. And as a result of filling out that survey, I was contacted, and I met with some individuals who were in the field of psychiatry for the military, and they were helping out with people coping with stresses and things of that nature. And later, I just stopped having the dreams, and I guess I wouldn't say it was easy to get over, because it wasn't easy to get over. I had to keep remembering all these things and waking up in cold sweats and just crying for the lives lost, not only here but in New York and in Pennsylvania. And to know that I was in part of it and survived was quite odd. If I would have been about 50 to 100 foot down the hall, I wouldn't be here now. The impact was about 100 foot down the hall from where I was working at, and one of the only things, I guess, that saved us was the walls. I was standing right up against one, and there was a crack running from the ceiling down to the floor from one of the concrete beams hitting it. And we had to go back in 2 weeks later after the attack to collect up our equipment that we had stored in the conference room, and it all came flooding back into my memory. And then about 4 months ago, we finally completed the move back into the Pentagon, into the same space. And I still have to work in the same space on a daily basis where I was at 2 years ago in the attack. And shortly after we moved back in, we were setting up and looking around, where everybody's going to sit at for the new cubicles, and we got lost in the office space, just like it did the year prior, and I started having an anxiety attack because it was the exact same thing that happened to us the day of the attack. We got lost and couldn't find a way out, and it just wasn't a good day that day. And then now I guess it's easier to cope with it because it's more of a thought process of not even wanting to think about it. So on a day-to-day basis, I have to work and have to pass the same room. I have to walk by the same wall. I have to look at it all the time. But it's just something you have to deal with and move on with your life and get on with the things that you normally do and not be afraid of what could happen or what's going to happen, because you as the terrorist on September 11th proved, you don't know when to expect it, and you don't know what to think of. You don't know what's going to happen. So, for future generations, just be vigilant and live your life like you want to. Don't be so scared to do anything. Get out there, do what you normally would have done 5 years ago or even 3 years ago, and just live your life.